The decision of President Muhammadu Buhari to effect a change of guard at the military high command has been attracting lots of positive comments from a cross-section of Nigerians. Public appraisal of the performance of the now replaced service chiefs had consistently been on a downward spiral following a series of reverses on the front lines, and that critically was all the people cared for. But now they've done their own bit and left the stage. And the conversation automatically is now about how the new officers in charge can make the most of the positive rating and momentum they are sure to have embarking on the assignment. Joining us now to have a conversation around this latest development is Dr. Ona Ekhomu, President, Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria, a security and intelligence expert and public policy consultant. Welcome to the program, Dr. Ekhomu. Good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben. Good morning to you and to the rest of the crew.
Well, thank you for joining us. Very quickly, I mean, you've been on this topic for a long time. You have even written books on the subject. Now, Nigerians wanted the service chiefs change. Well, better late than never, some people say. Yesterday, the president finally took that decision, and we have a new team in place. Is it all about change of personnel, or there is a lot more that we still need to do in terms of security reform, or that notorious phrase, changing the security architecture of Nigeria? Your take, Dr. Ekhomu.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben. Well, I think the personnel change is important to the extent that people drive change and people drive resources. You can measure the performance of executives, of leaders, like military leaders. Even in your intro, you mentioned that there had been quite a few reverses, and there had been complaints from Nigerians, such that it was high time a change needed to be effected. And we thank the president for making his choice. You know, in your program, you've asked me before if that's what needed to be done. And I said to you, it is up to the president, because he's the one that's hiring, and he's the one that's going to do the firing also. And but I think other than that, first of all, there are so many dynamics here. Bringing in the new service chiefs will give new impetus, new momentum to the fight against our plethora of security threats and security risks all over. I just issued a press release yesterday about the complaint, or by the alarm, really, by the governor of Nasarawa State, that Boko Haram is now operational in his state. And I'm like, are we listening? Are we hearing this? That Boko Haram is no longer just domiciled in the northeast. It's now into the north central. Of course, Boko has been there, because Boko in the form of Ansaru has been operating for a long time in Kogi State and in Kaduna State, which is in fact also northwest. Now, even the banditry you are seeing all around the country, or that's been spoken of, that's become the buzzword of the day, is a spin-off of, or it's an inspiration of Boko, because when those fighters, those Mujua fighters, and those people who come from the Sahel into the northwest and into the country found out, oh, these guys couldn't deal with Boko. They say, okay, let us set up camp here. This is a fertile ground. And of course, they found that Nigerians readily pay ransom and all that. So it's become a very good business for them, as it were. So I think what I'm saying is the fact that we couldn't deal with the old threats, at least decisively, put them to bed, that has given rise to new threats, which we now have to contend with in the form of kidnapping, banditry, herdsmen, and of course insurgency all over the country. So the new service chiefs have a lot to contend with, and it is good that the president, at this time in his wisdom, made this decision to bring in very accomplished persons. The CDS is almost legendary. Admiral Gambo at Navy is also great, and I'm sure the others are also very good. Well, we saw Ibrahim Atahiru when he operated in the Northeast.
We need to take a short commercial break, and then we'll come back to you so that you can do an assessment of the profile of the new service chiefs. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us is Dr. Ona Ekhomu, President, Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria. And he's been looking at the appointment of new service chiefs. Well, Dr. Ekhomu, before we went on that break, you were beginning to comment on the profile of the new service chiefs. If you may just go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben. And so I was saying that Mr. Ibrahim Atahiru, we have seen him perform in the Northeast as a commander, OPLD, that's Operation Lafia Dole. And he discharged himself very well there. So we see, I think the president probably made a very conscious pick of service chiefs at this time. Because part of what he did was pick people who are battle-tested to come in there. And perhaps he has also defined the threat. I've been trying to say that we should define correctly. That we are, I'm sorry to say it, but we are at war, whether we like it or not. Because if you look at the number of casualties we are taking on a daily basis, yes, of course, we don't have armies arrayed on both sides and shooting at each other. But we practically do that because the threats are directed against, mostly against citizens of the country, who the military, are supposed to be protecting. So if the threats are killing citizens, kidnapping citizens, doing all kinds of crazy things to citizens, and in fact the threats are also, at least in the Northeast, of course we've also seen a lot of that in the Northwest, they are going up against hardened targets, that is military targets. That is why you saw the military retreat into super camps. Even they've started that same thinking in the Northwest. Certainly in the Northeast, that's their MO now. That's their defensive, that's their strategy now. They are in that, in super camps because they couldn't sustain having the outposts, which were often overrun by the insurgents. So what I'm saying is that we actually have insurgencies all around the country, and Mr. President has made a very smart pick. Mr. Amao, that's AVM Amao, the guy who is now the chief of air staff, headed Tactical Air Command in Makurdi, and more recently, he took over here in Lagos at NAFRIC. But at Makurdi, which is the fighting arm of the Air Force, he did a terrific job there. So I think, just to put it in Nigerian parlance, they don't try. They have done very well so far. We've seen their pedigree, and we hope that they will carry that. But what I want to caution quickly is that the tools you need as an operational officer are not the same tools you need as an executive officer, a chief executive of a service. Because here you need